Hi you guys, hello and welcome. I hope you're all doing very well lately. I wanted to make a little bit more long form content because I feel like I'm really relying on shorts lately. Just wanted to diversify that a little bit. But I have a really interesting plant to show you. This is the Japanese umbrella pine. It's also called Sciadopitys verticillata. This particular cultivar is called wintergreen, and I'm just going to show you in a sec. So, super cool plant. This is a native of Japan. The variety is called wintergreen Sciadopitys verticillata. So this is one of those plants that you would classify as a living fossil. And what I mean by that is it's in the family Sciadopitiaceae, and it's the only existing um, genus Sciadopitys within that family that actually is known to persist to the current day. The rest of them are extinct or presumed extinct. So this over here is a really interesting member of the Sciadopitys genus, in that it's just really stood the test of time and it hasn't gone extinct like many of its cousins. So this is a really interesting plant in that it's in the order Pineales, but it doesn't have really stiff, rigid, pokey needles like you would see in other conifers such as spruce. So this is a gymnosperm, so it will produce cones upon maturity, but it takes a very long time for this plant to get mature. It's kind of the type of plant that really shoots up new growth and grows quite quickly when it's juvenile, but as it matures, the growth will slowly kind of die down in speed. When it's mature, it has this really nice kind of egg shape to it, and it's a lot more compact. I don't know if you can see, it's just starting to produce a new whorl. So this is kind of how it comes up. It's almost like a sago palm in that it'll produce one whorl, and then from that whorl you'll get 3 or 4 buds, and then you just get new whorls that are about 12 centimeters across. This particular plant is growing in part shade. They definitely do appreciate slightly more direct sun conditions. Sciadopitys in general really does appreciate wet soil. With good drainage, so consistently moist but not like soggy. They don't like drying out either, so you want to find that sweet spot. Sometimes in the spring you'll get a little bit of this yellowing. That's due to temperature inversion, so that's totally normal. It tends to fade away over time, but if it starts going really quite bright yellow, that's over fertilizer. So this is a plant that does well in poor nutrient profile soils. So you don't necessarily have to fertilize it, but if you do choose to fertilize it, don't fertilize it a lot because it is prone to becoming yellow. So to propagate this plant, it does produce cones. It takes a very long time for this plant to produce cones, though. It takes many years for it to get that mature from what I've seen, unless it's in really ideal, perfect conditions. Quite suitable for containers, actually. It almost kind of reminds me of like a fern, the way that it grows these new growth points. If you don't see these growth points by April, consider moving your plant to a place that's a little bit warmer if it's in a pot, because they do respond to that spring warmth. Really cool needles to this thing. Man, I have some allergies today, so I'm finding it a little hard to talk because my throat's really like raspy, so sorry about that, you guys. So to propagate these, you can also do semi-hardwood cuttings. So I don't know if you've heard the church windle technique, but you can basically, and these scaffold branches are actually quite loose. But right on the narrow crotch of the scaffold branch, you can actually pull that off, and then you can root these. I recommend having 2 to 3 whorls, and it takes about 6 months. You want to do that in late spring, but personally I wouldn't recommend it if you really enjoy the form of your plant, because it will not grow back in a way that's as aesthetically symmetrical. So these plants are prone to a little bit of winter dieback, especially in harsher winters. I don't know if you can see here if this ever focuses, but this is totally normal. And if you get this on the lower whorls, there was one here, that's a sign of maturity. But if that goes all the way up, you might want to check the roots and you might want to repot, because there's a chance that it has some root rot. So these guys have really interesting exfoliating bark in that it's very linear, and then as they get older it becomes corky, almost like a Douglas fir. But yes, really, really cool. This is suitable for bonsai as well. I think that they can be really quite striking as bonsai too, because they can grow quite compact as they get older. One thing that I will say is this here is just one of my absolute favorite parts of this plant. If you want year-round interest, just these bracts that surround the whorls, I just think they're so prehistoric and just super cool. This plant does very well in slightly acidic soils. It tends to resent really cold drafts. Want to put it in definitely a more protected area, but they are cold hardy. So you just want to treat them a little bit more tender than their normal form when they're younger and more juvenile, and then a few years later they do tend to kind of beef up a little bit and become more resilient to the cold. The mature height of these guys is anywhere from about 15 to 30 meters, so it is a large scale tree. Yeah. That is just my introduction to the Japanese umbrella pine. Really, really cool. They're kind of expensive though. I got mine from Minter's Gardens out here in Chilliwack for I think $60. So I've been growing this guy for a couple of years. But if you can find one, definitely a real gem. Highly recommend. You will not be disappointed. They're super cool. So that is Sciadopitys verticillata. I hope I did it justice with this video. I'm gonna go inside and try not to have allergies now. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Stay blessed, and I hope you guys have a lot of fun in the garden. So I'll be making more content like this. So have a really good day, and as always, thank you very much.